Hey guys, so I don't know why I've put myself through this. I'm going to be shifting this top down constantly because for some reason when I start to exercise more, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to show a little bit of skin because I feel more confident, and then I show some skin and I'm just constantly like, I need to cover my skin. So if you see me like shifting around and my shirt down, there's a reason. Because I wanted to look nice, but I guarantee I'm just going to feel uncomfortable. Anyway, I've been watching a shitload of Charlotte Dobre videos because it's that time of year apparently. I decided that I wanted to do either Bridezilla or Am I the Arsehole posts. And I was reading some Twitter posts of Am I the Arsehole, and I forget how fucking funny they are. So that's what we're doing today. Fancied a little bit of a change up just for like a week of Shane and Predator content. I feel like I don't want to have back to back Shane content. Hello, what you doing? You want to come up here? You want to hear some Am I the Arsehole stories? We're going through Reddit today. Oh, that's my neighbour. For the last 2 fucking days, I've been dealing with arsehole teenagers hanging around the communal hallway of my building, smoking weed. Normally, the previous group, you'd ask them to leave politely and they would just go. And even if one spoke back to you, the other ones would immediately turn around and go, mate, that's not okay. Don't be rude, or don't be disrespectful or something. But this lot are newer. They're like younger. And when I asked them to, look, if you don't live here, please leave, one of them started talking back to me and saying, my nan lives on the first floor. And I'm like, oh, really? Because I know both people that live on the first floor and neither of them are women. So please leave. And they started mouthing off to me saying, like, shut up. So then I probably sounded like a proper Karen, being like, I pay rent here, don't be disrespectful, don't be so fucking rude, sort of thing. And immediately they got up and left because I was probably killing their buzz. Yeah, let there be a lesson to you. Don't be disrespectful to people in their own fucking homes, especially when you have no right to be there and you're just being antisocial. There's literally a park right there. Just fuck off into the park. No one will bother you. If you're in people's surroundings where they live in their homes, people are going to start getting annoyed. Anyway, let's get started. Am I the arsehole for coming to dinner basically topless? Okay. I've dreaded posting for a while because I'm afraid I might be the arsehole, but I just want to know. So here goes. My parents-in-law and brother-in-law came to visit and stay for a month with my husband, 27 male, and I, 28 female. After I had my baby. What are you doing? You can come up. You're telling stories, I want to be part of it. Literally never asks for attention until I'm filming. Not to this extent, anyway. For context, if it makes any difference, I'm German, husband and his family are Italian. I don't see why that would make a difference, but okay. The baby was 3 months old at the time and I breastfed her. Usually I'd just nurse on the couch in the living room, but because company was staying, I'd go to my bedroom. Fair enough. You don't have to, unless someone's like seriously uncomfortable with it. Unless someone's like leering at you to make you uncomfortable as well. After I nursed her, she'd fall asleep and take a nap, and I'd have some free time. Since family was visiting, I tried to plan her naps around our meal time to spend time with family uninterrupted. It's clever. Very thoughtful. My mother-in-law has this thing that when food on the table, you be there pronto. Sometimes I'd be late coming to a meal, but oh, Jesus Christ, are you okay? This is why I don't let him outside. He's the clumsiest cat in the world. He's going to eat his dinner as if nothing just happened. Sometimes I'd be late coming to a meal because babies can be unpredictable and she wouldn't fall asleep right away or nurse longer than normal. To this, my mother-in-law would barge into my room and announce food was ready, all impatient. Jesus Christ, it's a fucking baby, and food can sit there for 5 minutes if you're feeding a child, for God's sake. If not, let her feed her at the table. This startled the baby and made the process last much longer than it should have. That's a good point, I never even thought of that. Clearly, never breastfed a child. The result is that I had to eat much later than everyone else, alone, and the food was cold. They couldn't just put a fucking plate in the oven. Sorry, my foot's going numb. It left me fuming, more work to do with the baby, and I'm secluded. This happened several times. I asked my husband to talk to her and explain I can't always come on time. He talked to her, but she's still all this anyway. Then why didn't he put her plate in the oven? Like, what's stopping your husband from doing that for you and stepping up? What are you doing? You're being a pain today. So I decided to stop being late to the dinner. The next time she barged in my room and announced food was ready, I came without hesitation. I came to the table exactly as I was. No shirt, half a bra, baby hanging on one tip. Nothing was seen as the baby's head covered up everything anyway. But still, ensue uproar goes something like, mother-in-law exclaims, what the hell I'm doing at the table like this? I'm indecent. There are men at the table like they've never seen boobs before.
They have focused on the breasts, which are used primarily to feed young infants.
I should be ashamed if the husband doesn't stand up for that fucking wife right now, throw the whole husband away. I yell back, what the hell does she keep calling me to the table for if I'm not yet ready? I have no reason to be in my room alone with my baby while everyone else is out having a great time together. Brother and father-in-law are trying not to get in on the argument. Husband ushers me back to my room and scolds me, taking his mother's side. No, 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 no. Throw that man away. Little fucking mummy's boy. No, 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 no. He gets frustrated, but this action didn't help anything. But after that, mother-in-law didn't bother again while I was busy with the baby. So what if I came to some meals a little after everyone had started eating? The roof didn't cave in. Anyways, everyone lived happily ever after at the end. Am I the arsehole? No. I can see why Reddit dubbed you not the arsehole. Jesus Christ. Let's have a look at some of the comments. Not the arsehole. Well-placed piece of malicious compliance. Yes. Love it. I'd be pissed at husband though. Yeah, exactly. That's what I said. You had your chance to talk to your mother. Either you weren't trying hard enough to be convincing or she didn't give a shit. If you're pissed, go talk to her. I just did what she asked. Next time, nut up and actually handle your mother before I have to get my tits out of the dining table. Brother and father-in-law are likely keeping out of it because A, she's not worth the pain of dissent. They were in awe of you standing up to your bitch mother-in-law. Your husband is most likely taking her side because she has always been the boss of her household and he needs to develop a spine strong enough to support you against his mother. Not the arsehole. I mean, you were an arsehole, but only in the best possible way. When people are being not only ridiculous but also rude like that, I honestly can't think of a better way. Bravo. Honestly, I didn't even think she's an arsehole. In-laws are visiting OP in her house to see baby that needs to eat approximately every 2 hours. That's a lot of time to expect someone to shutter themselves in their bedroom. That's a really good fucking point. It was common when I grew up in Midwest US that if you were visiting someone with a baby, they might pop it. Especially family. And I was under the impression that Europeans were even more accepting than Americans on the public breastfeeding stance. These boobs are made for nursing and that's just what they'll do. Next, arsehole. Am I an arsehole for calling my wife fat? Advice needed. I've never, ever, ever seen that. Unless it's still pending, maybe. I'm 34, male, work in a physically demanding field. Myself and my co-workers are all fit people without a lot of body type variety. Okay. My wife, 32, female, is fat. The thing is, she's always been fat. The whole time I've known her. We dated when she was fat. We got married when she was fat. She knows she's fat, okay?
I don't like where this is going.
She's fat and she's beautiful. I'm happy if she loses weight and I'm happy if she stays where she is. I think she's the most beautiful woman as is. I'm finding this one hard, but it's also because I've struggled in the past with an ED, so that word really triggers me, like very much the Taylor Swift, you know, stand on the scales and doesn't matter what it says, you see fat to that extent kind of thing. That's why that word is hard for me, but that's my trigger. One of my co-workers, Julia, 28, female, started complaining that she's too fat to be loved and fat people don't get to be loved. Julia isn't fat. She's maybe 120 pounds. She works out 5 times a week and barely ever eats. Okay, so either she's looking for compliments, which I used to work with someone who did that, or she has an eating disorder, especially if she barely eats. I told her that wasn't true and that my wife was fat. She got really red in the face and started telling me I wasn't allowed to call my wife fat. Yeah, this is totally an ED thing, that word's a trigger. I wasn't allowed to call my wife fat, that I was insulting her and that my wife was beautiful and curvy. Carol doesn't like being called curvy. She thinks it's a label used to avoid calling people fat because it's a dirty word to most people. I told Julia as much. Yeah, people with eating disorders tend to think. I know it sounds like I'm assuming a lot of this Julia person, but that's because, like I say, that's something I've had to live through and that word is still a trigger for me, which is why I'm also struggling with that word. But clearly if his wife is okay with that word and that as a descriptor, I guess, then it's fine. Julia started threatening to tell my wife I called her fat. She pulled up her Instagram and told me she was messaging Carol that I was being mean. I beat her to the punch and called my wife.
Pick up the phone and start dialing.
Put her on speaker and asked if she was curvy or fat. Carol laughed and said, I hate that curvy shit. Fat and beautiful, baby. I thanked her, told her I loved her, and hung up. As soon as I hit end, Julia went mental.
You, how dare you!
That's weird that Julia went mental. Unless she thinks that over the years he's like caused his wife to demean herself, maybe? I don't know. She started screaming that I was abusing my wife. When I asked how, she said I was clearly brainwashing her into accepting the term fat. Yeah, see, it's because it's a trickle for her. She's unfortunately assuming the worst. To try to keep her complacent and from getting away from me. That no woman in her right mind could be okay with their husband calling them fat. I showed a picture of my wife in a shirt that had BBW on it. She bought it for herself, by the way. She stormed off and hasn't spoken to me since. No love lost there then. Now I just walked in today to an email from HR requesting a meeting with me. I don't think it's a big deal. I have my wife's blog for fat positivity, the shirt, and can easily call her for proof. But now things are frigid at work and Julia constantly gives me dirty looks. We're in the same room. She ignores me otherwise. If Julia has said that he's bad-mouthing his wife at work, doesn't need to go to HR. If it's the fact that he thinks he's being mean to Julia, I would not know where, because he was almost, I guess it could be seen as a compliment, saying like, you're not fat. I'm trying to think of what within that conversation was worthy of HR discussing it with him. There is an update, so we might find out in a minute. So I'm just over here scratching my head. Am I the arsehole for calling my wife fat? No, because clearly that's a description that she's happy with, so I don't see any problem there. Okay, edit, update. So I met with HR at 4 today. Apparently multiple co-workers had overheard the conversation, stopped by HR through the day to give their side. Wait, I wasn't in trouble. They just wanted my side of things. Fair enough. It checked out with what everyone else had said too. I guess it was because it was a scene, maybe, and the fact that maybe everyone else was feeling the repercussions of the fight, I guess. Because of that confrontation both of them had, it's caused some animosity. I still don't know which of my crew stopped by, but I owe them my life. I offered to show my wife's blog, and our rep, who's a really nice girl, told me that it didn't affect my work, it was irrelevant. The story had been corroborated enough by others. HR reiterated a lot of what you all said, even though Julia initiated the conversation. I shouldn't have jumped in. It was less of a scolding and more of a request to keep my nose out of other people's business. I'm sad because I thought Julia and I were friends. We talked about our mental health struggles, the hardships of the field we're in, and heavy things like that. Won't be having those conversations any further. Julia and I will no longer be paired on teams for patient care. I was told my part in the investigation was done and they thanked me for my time, so I think I'm going to be okay. Before I left, I told HR that if weight loss body image wasn't supposed to be a topic of conversation, they should consider enforcing that on company level. We have a weight loss challenge, suggested making it a fitness challenge. Yeah, that's much better wording. Instead, she said they'd take it into consideration. So that's it. I wrapped up my treatments. Everything will hopefully shake out. I haven't spoken to Julia, hoping to avoid her for the near future. Thank you for all the sanity check. Now, to quote Clue, I'm gonna go home and sleep with my wife. The difference between your wife and Julia is that your wife loves herself. Julia can't even pretend to. That's a little harsh. But I agree, he's not the arsehole. Not the arsehole at all. Wow, unless she is under 1.5 meters, Julia clearly has a body dysmorphic disorder. She should keep her negativity to herself, save for maybe talking to a therapist about it. Good on you for phoning your wife to show her. I wish I could have been a fly on the wall to witness that. Yeah, see, that's immediately what I thought is that, because some people, like I say, I have worked with people before who do sort of, they talk about their weight and themselves just trying to get compliments. Then saying, oh my God, I look so ugly in this dress. And then actually they're fishing for compliments. Not the arsehole, and your wife sounds awesome. Julia should get a better hobby because she sucks at fishing. See, that's what I was thinking, that she was fishing for compliments, but I actually think the more he was talking to her about it, the more it sounded like a body dysmorphia, like an eating disorder sort of thing. Fat isn't a bad word itself. It's bad as you want it to be. Tone and context is everything. Fat is a description valid as short, tall, thin, blue, or brown eyes. Fat shaming isn't when someone says, I am fat, which is true. It's when they're trying to, how do I pronounce this word? Denigrate? Okay, I did get it right. Myself. Basing my self-worth on my weight. And you don't do it with your wife. Your wife isn't doing to herself. And for your co-worker, it seems that she is correlating her self-worth with her body appearance and projecting onto your wife, not the arsehole. Right, next arsehole. Am I the arsehole for begging my girlfriend to uphold a sexist tradition just so she can make a good first impression? Jesus. I have a big family that's incredibly close. We have big family dinners every few months where we all meet at great-grandfather's estate and eat together. Typically, how this works is that the women go cook for the time they're there and the men don't, which I'm fully aware is sexist as hell. then why don't you do anything about it? You could go and help them. I think of when my nan or my family go and cook meals, we all used to go into the kitchen and help out, or just stand in there and chat with everybody. But we didn't just go, oh, you're in the kitchen because you're cooking the meal, and just ignore what was going on. Is that not a thing? That being said, I am one of the youngest people in the family, and my protests mean absolutely nothing. Your actions might mean more. Some of those women choose not to cook. However, this is usually met with a level of ostracizing. That's even worse. The women who don't cook, wives and long-term girlfriends. So they kind of already have a good family relationship doctored in. When I have seen new partners not cook, it's gone bad. They completely ostracized, not speaking, cattiness, rudeness. Jesus, what the fuck is this family?
Don't give me that look.
This dinner will be in 2 weeks, and my girlfriend was asked if she would attend. Initially, she said yes, which is great. I want for her to meet everyone and for everyone to get used to her being around. But when I explained to her the tradition, she was understandably bothered. Yes, so would I. Like, I like cooking, but family affairs, especially when you're first meeting a family, is very, very uncomfortable. And to be literally left in the kitchen with only the women who all know each other is very like Mean Girls almost.
So that's against the rules, and you can't sit with us.
Well, it can go that way is my point. I told her that I understood where she was coming from. However, it was best for everyone if she just played along. I told her this isn't a permanent thing, and that I'm only asking her to do this so that she can avoid bad treatment from the rest of the family. This is her first impression, and I don't think it's best if we cause waves. It's also her first impression of them, and they are already giving off a very toxic family dynamic. She told me that it's unacceptable, that if she has to do that, she will not be going. I've tried to find a compromise with her on this, but she won't budge, and she's pissed at me. She told me that if I think it's acceptable to make her do this, I'm just as bad as everyone else, while my point is that she needs to make a good first impression. Yeah, you are just as bad as them, because you're literally acting exactly the same as them, and you may say a few words, but your actions do not match your words at all, which mean nothing. Am I the arsehole? Yeah. Oh, it's been locked due to an excess of rule violations. That's always good. You're the asshole. Why won't my girlfriend abandon her sense of self-respect so that she can establish herself as a subservient woman tool so that my sexist family won't mentally and verbally abuse her? She just doesn't get it. Literally, why is my girlfriend mad at me that my family expects her to cook for them after inviting her to dinner as a guest? And why does she think I should myself not abuse her the same way my family wants to? Literally, what is this? I can so see why this has been locked. I played this game with my ex's family. They still became mentally and emotionally abusive. This is what I'm saying. Like, it's a toxic family dynamic that will not change. And by even starting in this toxic way, it just leads to other toxic things. What's going to happen when they get engaged or married or they have kids? It's just going to be super sexist and toxic. It's going to be like, oh, she can't work because she's a woman, or she can't do anything but look after the kids. It's one step into a hugely toxic, sexist family. I'm sorry, but if this is the bare minimum of what he's expecting her to start dealing with, and he will not already stand up for her, no.
Run.
I watched them treat his nieces like their lives' goals were to be homemakers. Needless to say, I stopped playing the game, and it was a major problem in my relationship. It's naive to think that the long-term wives and girlfriends aren't still dealing with the cattiness, drama, and verbal abuse. It's just probably more low-key. Yeah, it's probably a lot more like micro compared to like all-out cattiness and rudeness. Unless their partners put their foot down in a big way, which, if it's still going on with all these people, they're just as bad. OP, you're the arsehole. Absolutely. I completely agree. Soon to be ex-girlfriend, he won't understand why even if she explains it. None of my relationships last. I can't understand why. He's just a nice guy and girls don't like that. Yeah, I can see that. Oh, no. Oh my god. We have to do this one. Am I the arsehole for making my daughter leave because my husband is attracted to her?
No! God, please, no! No!
I'm guessing that's step-husband, but what in the Pornhub is this? Oh my god, this is even worse. I'm gonna be sick. We literally were not gonna be doing Predators. I, 55 female, have been married to my husband and my stepdaughter's stepdad, 63 male, for 4 years. My 23-year-old daughter and I have a complicated relationship. Well, at least she's of age. She has been diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder. DID, okay. She has a lot of trauma from watching me and my husband's horrible marriage go down and was bullied in school. I always forget that every person that has DID has dealt with some form of extreme trauma. Yeah, that checks out. When she told me she was being bullied by peers, I view that all children children are innocent really tied my hands, because I told her that if I said anything to them, I would be an adult harassing a child. Maybe sticking up for your daughter. She has blamed me for that ever since. I understand why. And keeps referring to this one time where the kids at school called her trash due to the fact she wasn't taking care of her hygiene due to depression. Part, not all, of my response was telling her to take a shower, and I brought her new clothes. This person clearly does not know how to deal with mental health. That is not how you deal with depression, and that is not how you deal with your child who has depression. The bullying finally ended with an expulsion and a suspension for the ringleaders. Good, someone fucking dealt with it, because you clearly weren't going to. She still throws the fact that a school clinic volunteer told her that if she was their kid, she'd have permission to punch back if administrators did anything. So glad somebody was sticking up for your fucking daughter. I thought that having her live with me while she finishes school and gets a job would help heal some childhood wounds if my second husband and I modelled a healthy relationship. However, my daughter now doesn't get along with my husband. She's a very introverted, creative person who likes immersing herself in escapism. Good for her. So she'd get annoyed if she was sitting eating alone and my husband would sit across from her and eat, saying she ate later so she could eat alone. However, my husband started acting distant from me and my daughter complained that his eyes lingered for too long.
What the fuck?
She got very angry and there was a lot of shouting and slamming of doors. Finally, my husband admitted he's attracted to her and it's hard to be around her all day. And I bet she's choosing her husband over her daughter. Oh my god, he said she was a walking temptation and said that was why he was avoiding sex with me. Throw that husband away. Jesus fucking Christ. I was so upset to hear this. I don't blame my daughter for this, but at the same time the situation had become unbearable. Why are you both still living with him? Something would have to give and I couldn't collect my thoughts with both of them still being in the house. So I gave my daughter money to Why are you sending your daughter away? Why are you not sending him away? The fact that you're putting your relationship with your partner above your child, red fucking flags. But then the way you've dealt with your daughter clearly throughout their whole life has been consistently putting yourself before her, because to allow her to have been dealing with her DID and her depression alone and blaming her for the fact that she's basically being bullied. What the fuck? I hate parents like this. This is exactly why I've said so many times, like, if I was going to have kids, I would adopt, because I never want kids to have to go through this stuff. So I gave my daughter money to stay at an extended stay hotel and also to utilise her college's emergency financial and housing resources they have for students in need. She responded by storming out and telling my ex, who is now circling social media, using it to paint me as the villain of all villains. I'm not abandoning my daughter. She qualifies for those resources anyway, since my ex is unemployed and we are in substantial debt. I just need time to process the situation and don't want to leave my house to stay with my daughter when I have a marriage to figure out whether or not to save. No, you are not saving that marriage. Your husband finds your daughter attractive.
Stop it. Get some help.
Am I the arsehole? Yeah, you're the arsehole. 1, I have a hard time believing that her DID just came from seeing you and your ex fight. DID stems from repeated trauma before the age of 9-ish. 2, you're punishing your daughter for your husband being inappropriate. Kick him out of the house while you figure things out. Literally. This. I can't believe more people aren't mentioning this. Someone doesn't develop DID just from watching their parents fight. See, I don't know enough about DID. I know that a lot of people have dealt with consistent beatings or SA or something like that at a very, very, very young age, tend to have DID because the brain does a very clever thing of blocking off that trauma and creating a different persona. Sorry, I know that's probably not the right word. Alter, sorry. As like a protector, and who deals with that trauma and completely, like, Pandora's boxes it away. I know about that. I didn't know watching your parent be beaten, for example, then that is definitely another form of trauma. So I don't know enough about it. I didn't want to say that. I did have that thought for a second, but I thought, well, maybe that is enough. I hate to even imagine what kind of trauma that poor girl must have been through to feel like her only way to escape and feel safe was to split off aspects of her personality into separate beings. The mother is a piece of shit for the way she's treating her daughter now. But I would bet money that her mistreatment of her daughter goes way back. That's what I was thinking, especially the second she talked about her depression. I was diagnosed with DID in 2021 and have done extensive research. It stems from abuse so severe and ongoing that the child's mind has to compartmentalise what is happening to them so that they can develop as normally as possible. This includes physical abuse, sexual abuse, extreme emotional abuse, and extreme neglect. Yeah, I was getting the neglect from the depression. In rare cases, can also be developed if the child has serious medical issues that require invasive and traumatizing surgeries. Her daughter did not get DID from witnessing, she got it from what she endured. OP, you sound like my mother, just as selfish and delusional. You're the asshole majorly. You're the asshole. Kick the husband out who can't keep his eyes and his penis to himself. I hate to say it, but it's only a matter of time before she could end up being SA'd. For fuck's sake, leave that relationship. How can she stand to stay in the presence of her husband after what he said? Literally, he said her daughter was a walking temptation. A walking temptation. That is exactly the sort of language predators use. Jesus. His stuff would be packed and on the front porch in no time. Well, it wouldn't be the first time she's banded her daughter. That is exactly what I was thinking. The whole childhood part where she didn't want to harass children is such bullshit. I don't know how people can stand by and watch their own human children in misery when they could do something about it. I guess my dad knew kids would target me, so he always prepared me to deal with people, and that even extended to some people don't understand anything but an arse whipping. I feel so bad for that young girl. You are a terrible mother. You failed to protect her before, and you're doing it again. No wonder why she has issues. What should have happened is that you sent that dirtbag husband of yours packing. If it's your house, assure your daughter that you'll protect her. Yeah, she's not protecting shit. Am I the arsehole for telling my son that he is obviously gay? Well, Reddit dubbed this person the arsehole, so this is going to be a fucking story and a half, and it's only 3 paragraphs long. My son, 17 male, has apparently been in the closet for the past 7 months. So my son is fairly masculine, straight acting, if that makes sense. However, he's very obviously had a boyfriend for the past 7 months. You don't know that person's sexuality. They could be bi, they could be pan, they could be anything within the LGBTQIA plus spectrum. Let them come to you with their identity. Don't assume it. He sometimes baby talks to this boy, hugs him all the time. I've always found baby talk a bit creepy, so apologies that I winced. Has called him handsome, share clothes, sits way too close to each other to the point where they're basically cuddling. He closes his bedroom door with him but not any other friends, sees him every day, buys him gifts, and for the past 7 months he now always smells great, has his hair fixed really nice, and dresses nicer, among other things. He may just be very, very close with this person, and that person has taught him, and maybe that person also identifies in a similar way. Maybe they're also part of the LGBT, and maybe they're discussing things of the LGBT. Maybe they're just friends. You don't know. Let them come to you and tell you that. But either way, it could be that they've started to take care of themselves. Friend has given advice to this person and said, like, oh, you should try this cologne. Or a bit like girls, like, we'll be like, oh, you should try this makeup product. Oh, you should try this mascara. Oh, you should try this foundation. It could just be as simple as that. Let's not jump to conclusions before we have all the facts. Like I say, maybe they close the door because they're not comfortable with the dad seeing what they're discussing or talking about. It could be the fact that they're boyfriend, but you don't know. Today I asked my son if he was going to invite his boyfriend on our trip, and he got awkward and said, that's not funny. I asked what he meant, and he said, I'm straight, that's not funny. I laughed, and when I realised he was serious, I started laughing even harder. Oh, you a hella fucking asshole. I told him he was very obviously in a relationship with a guy and did a terrible job at hiding it. He got emotional and started asking me not to tell his dad. My husband already knows. Like I said, it was obvious. Oh, this is the wife. I just assumed this for some reason, the husband. Then he got upset, saying, outed him when he wasn't ready. He hasn't said a word to me in a couple of days. Am I the arsehole? Yeah, an arsehole for the way you reacted. You're an arsehole for outing him before he was ready to discuss it. There are so many ways you can deal with it. You could have had an open conversation and said, you know, you're 17 now, learned about the birds and the bees, but I want you to know that if you were part of the LGBTQIA plus community, I would still love you, however you identify and whoever you're sexually attracted to. That doesn't matter to me. I love you because you are my son. That's all you have to fucking say. And then when they are comfortable, then they can come to you and tell you. But you don't laugh at them when they are not ready to tell you that and still say that they are straight. Funnily enough, my uncle actually said to me that because I shaved my hair, have I gone gay? Because I haven't told my family I'm bi. He asked me like 3 times before he turned around and said, oh, you know, it wouldn't matter. Hello. You're the arsehole. When I was 17 and watching TV with my parents, out of the blue, my dad turned to me and said, you know, it'd be okay if you were gay, right? I laughed it off and said okay and went about my day. In the 6 months I was questioning, it took several more years before I was comfortable calling myself bi and coming out to friends and family. I think I must have given off vibes to my parents for dad to come straight out and say it like that. But at no point in time did he assume, make comments alluding to it, nothing. I was given time and space to reach that conclusion on my own. You took that away from your son instead of saying something to the effect of, if you are, cool. If not, cool. We love you regardless. You forced him to confront that identity before he was ready. You need to stomp this shit out before it spirals. Let your son know what I said above, that however he chooses to identify is okay with you, and that you love him regardless and will take any future cues on how to proceed from him. It's laughing at him that gets me. How humiliating. It's really demeaning. I can see how OP thought it would not be a big deal since so obvious. Maybe they thought that for this reason coming out officially wasn't necessary, but clearly the son thought he was being sneaky. It's a classic case of miscommunication. I don't think anyone's an asshole here. I do. I think laughing at it 100% was. I just think OP was a bit callous, and the son needs to learn to accept himself. Talking about this should solve the problem. But the thing is, he might not have been gay. He might have been bi. He might have been still trying to figure out his sexuality. He may have just been, testing the waters. You don't know at all. Let them come to you once they have found it in themselves to identify how they want to. Honestly, deciding if you are or aren't the a-hole or had malicious intentions or not seems less important than making sure your son feels safe, comfortable, and loved. I think you should go to him and first apologise for laughing at him. No matter your intentions, it's rude and probably made him feel so belittled. Second, apologise for making an assumption about his identity and trying to ascribe your take onto him. You're also ascribing a label to him. Some people don't like to label their sexuality. Third, explain that your assumption was simply based on your read of the dynamic between him and this boy. You realise now that the only people who get to make decisions about what they are or are not to each other is the two of them. And whether he has those feelings or not is not for you to dictate nor demand he explains to you. You can explain that maybe it felt obvious or clear to you, but you realise now that your take matters far less than his, and you're sorry for imposing your perspective on him or making him confront revelations about himself that he may not have been ready to fully address. Fourth, for the love of God, tell him that you love and support him no matter what his identity is, regardless whether he feels ready to disclose such personal things to you yet. Also, kinda you're the asshole because laughing in your kid's face, laughing at them, is super rude. You're the asshole. He might not have realised how obvious it was, and it is obviously a scary time for him, and you laughed at him. You are his mother. He should be able to count on you to support him in times when he is scared, not ridicule. Agreed. Reaction like this, along with basic lack of trust, is why my mother didn't find out I was bi until I was 29, almost 30. I think you guys have probably had enough of Am I the Asshole posts. But this was fun. If you want me to do some bridezillas or entitled Karens or like kids or whatever, let me know. There's loads of stuff on Reddit. If you want me to do any of those, please let me know in a comment below. If you want to make sure to see my content, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to let you know what I post and when I post, because it is very sporadic. I apologise. I'm trying to get more into posting. I'm getting quicker at editing, I will say. A video can take me about a day to edit. It's only once I've merged the clips and uploaded the clips from my memory card onto my computer and shit, which it gets really fucking annoying because the cable from my camera to my fucking computer constantly drops. And after a while, I'm like, this camera's going to go flying across the fucking room unless I shut down my computer and try this again another day. It's a bit like, when you used to have corded headphones and one headphone would go and you'd kind of have to maneuver the cable to make sure that you can hear it in both sides. It's kind of like that, even though there's nothing wrong with that fucking cable. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.